All right, all right, all right. Peace and wellness, family. I hope that y'all are well and happy and whole and all that good stuff. Y'all know I love y'all dearly. And I promised y'all that I was going to have something special for you. Okay. I told you what it was going to be. Now, family, if you were here, if you were here in the wellness community in October, y'all know we read Jambalaya for Hoodoo Heritage Month. We put up a poll. Jambalaya was on the poll and it won. The community was so excited. Everybody loved it. When I say, when I say, y'all, today is the day. Y'all finally get to meet the Queen Mother, the Grand Dame, the High Priestess, one of my favorite, most beloved elders, the Honorable YeYe Luisah Teish, author of Jambalaya, y'all. Hey, yay.
Alafia.
Alafia. How you
Mm.
feeling today?
Well, I'm doing real good because even though it's wet and muggy outside, I'm inside.
You inside? You inside, nice
Uh,
and dry, able to
Nice and
observe
dry.
it.
Yeah, so I'm happy. I'm very happy to be inside and also to be with you all.
Ashe, Ashe. The people have showed up for you, Yeye. The wellness community. Our symbol is the butterfly, and the
Mm-hmm.
butterflies are in the chat. Everybody is so
Mm-hmm.
excited to connect with you, Yeye. It's all
Mm-hmm.
love and all light. Yeye, when they chose Jambalaya, I was so excited because I
Oh,
read it,
sure.
so I already knew what they was about to get into. Jambalaya has become really, truly a spiritual classic. A
Sure.
classic. Everybody who's on their wellness journey, their spiritual journey, and honestly, in my opinion, I don't care what path you are
That's
on,
right.
there's something
That's right.
in this book for
For
you.
you.
The way you tell your story, the way you give practices and rituals and detail.
Mhm.
This information is not easy to come by.
Right.
Something, especially in African spirituality, we're very big on keeping things sacred, right? Keep it sacred. You published this book in 1985,
Mhm.
38 years ago.
Go.
38 years, yeah, yeah.
Right.
I
That's
can only imagine the bravery, the
right.
gall, the audacity, the phenomenal womanness it took for you to put all of your intuition,
Mhm.
spiritual practices, your core, your soul, your ori on paper and say, I'm going to share. What really led you to do that? And
Mm.
in 1985, how was that received?
Well, the first thing that I have to say is those of us who are experiencing and benefiting from jambalaya need to say Maferifun Yemaya. It was
Ashe.
Yemaya
Oh, yeah, my God.
who made me write that book.
Ah,
Okay. And we also want to give gratitude to Mamselle Marie Laveau, who was one of my ancestral guides, and to my mother, Serena Scott Allen, who by her very being set the stage for me to become the person I became. My mother died a few years ago, and at 75, I look back at my life and I realized that the first 7 years of my life, she planted certain seeds in me
mm,
that laid underground the way seeds do, and it burst forth and caused me or impelled me to become the person that I am. Now, what made me write the book was that I saw myself as being among a class of women who were born with innate spiritual power, but who were not only not being given training and position, but to do that, but to have spiritual power be used to suppress us, you know.
Mm.
And I'm a great lover of freedom,
Yes.
right? And a great lover of justice. And as I ran upon different limitations and different attitudes that were harmful to me, at first you sort of, I don't know what's going on. Why is this happening? And that changes to what is happening and how do I change what's
Mm.
happening. And so I went on a spiritual quest to try to find something that would give my spirit more freedom,
Yes.
you know, more freedom to express what was going on inside. Now, I want to say that a good part of it was exploring different traditions as I was in the process of recovering from the patriarchal spirituality of Catholicism,
Mm.
you know. And that sent me on a quest to examine everything, 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 everything. And I was also supported by the radical ideas of the late 60s to early 70s. You
Yes.
know, this was a period when everybody, but especially Black people, we were looking at the fact that certain African nations had gotten their independence from Europe, yeah, and we were fighting for a better image of ourselves in the world in general. And while that was being done in politics, in in art, in travel, in a lot of different things, it was not happening in spirituality. We still had a negative public image of traditional African religion and the things in the diaspora. Okay.
Mm.
Now, in the middle of looking for liberation, there were the two contradictions. One is that I grew up around the whisperings of voodoo, right? And I saw it work, did not have the ability to ask many questions, but could, as a child, I was a snoop, right? I was a
Mhm.
consummate eavesdropper. I eavesdropped on the elders all the time, pretended I didn't know what was going on,
The
and
best
listened.
kids do, right?
You know what I'm saying? And listened as much as I could. And at the same time, being in university, I was an anthropology major and a performing arts minor.
Oh, wow.
Once you got into the stacks, what you saw was that there was a lot of information about African spirituality, but it wasn't being put in the forefront. It
Mm.
was as if these European and American researchers knew a secret about us that we didn't know.
Mm.
Okay. And I said, I'm going to tell it.
Come on, YeYe. Imma bring it back home. Okay.
I'm gonna bring it on out, y'all. This is my opportunity to speak on this stuff. What comes up right now is when I was a student at Reed,
Yeah.
I was in an anthropology survey course, where you had several professors. We had one who was a cultural anthropologist, we had one who was an ethnobotanist, and we had one who was a physical anthropologist. And one day, the
Mm.
physical anthropologist, who ultimately was a man with a lot of emotional problems, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? He put a human skull on the table.
Mm.
And my first thought was, this ain't plastic. This is not one of them plastic models. Okay. So this man done dug somebody's grave and got somebody's
Mm.
head sitting on this table. And being from New Orleans, that already didn't sit so well with
We
me.
don't do that.
We don't do that. You know what I'm saying? You don't be putting nobody's skull on the table.
Yeah.
Okay. And he put the skull on the table and he wanted us to look at it and tell him who the skull belonged to, you know. And I just kept very, very quiet while the other people handled it and they looked at it and people took guess. And he finally said, "This is the skull of a Chinese woman who's a hunchback." Huh.
Mm.
Yeah. Okay. And then the cultural anthropologist said that there were three. How do we know the difference between um, a culture that is civilized and one that is savage? Okay, now I want y'all to hear this real clear. This is 1967,
Okay.
and this man said uncivilized cultures have a notion that all of nature is alive and has spirit.
Mm.
All uncivilized cultures, so they have multiple deities. All uncivilized cultures allow women to participate in spirituality and government. I want y'all to hear this, okay? And civilized cultures use sugar and tobacco. And when he said that, it all came together in my head. This fool is saying that I'm only civilized if I've been his slave, right?
Yes.
And I
Yes.
jumped up and said something I'm not going to repeat. You know what I'm saying? You know? And so my college years was all about she who whispers
Mm.
saying to me, he's lying. He's lying.
Mm.
You know, look deeper, check something else out, you know. And that this was a time when we were fighting very, very much for Black studies to come to the forefront. And I was involved in what would be called an insurrection, where
Mm.
we took over the administration building of the school and said, "We're not going to give it back to y'all until you recognize that we have a history."
Come on, insurrection. Come on, yeah.
Okay? You know what I'm saying? We really had to do that kind of stuff. And we were in the middle of the civil rights and Black power movements.
Mhm.
And, and this image, this wrong story about us had paralyzed a number of people. So, as a storyteller, for example, I ran upon a brother, I can't remember his name now, who was working on his PhD, right?
Mm.
And his area of specialization was Native American folklore. And I
Mm.
asked him, why aren't you checking out African American folklore? And he told me that his advisors had told him that it was not a worthy subject.
Mm. Mm. Yeah, yeah. The crazy thing is we still fighting for that today.
I
You
know
know?
that drives me up the wall.
That's the crazy thing.
Ooh. Yeah, that messes with my head because I have to ask the question, there were certain victories that
Mhm.
we experienced in the 70s, and then I think something happened in the 90s where it was lost or smothered or something. I don't know. I can't exactly track what happened. I think there was something like 15 years of Republican rule, and or attention was put somewhere else. I
Mhm.
know for myself, the people who were my colleagues in that struggle, we had worked so hard in the 60s and 70s that by the time the 80s came, we were experiencing burnout
Yeah. Yeah.
and trying to recover, you
Yeah.
know. And so when I look at young people, and I look at young people today, the thing that I'm grateful for is that you are incorporating spirituality and self-care into your work. We didn't do that.
This is why, yeah, yeah. Because you did this.
Yes,
You just
ma'am.
said, you mentioned insurrection and you talked about this journey of essentially being a revolutionary because
That's
that's what you were,
that's
right?
right.
And
That's
in the
right.
80s, you experienced burnout and still gave us this spiritual guide,
I
okay?
had to.
Yeah, yeah.
I had to.
I commend you, I honor you, and I'm understanding the strength. That is my
Yes, sir.
intention. That's my desire is to really understand how did you do it and how do you still do it, right?
Mhm.
Because
Mhm.
as the queen mother, high priestess, elder griot that you are, right? Standing strong and tall and firm and beautiful and feminine and delicate and full of wisdom as you do, you have had a
Yes,
life
ma'am.
of being a revolutionary, a life of being a prayer warrior, a life of being a conjurer, a life of just
Ashe.
existing beyond measure. When you published this in
Ah,
1985, right? You did you all of that work as an anthropologist, right? And you know what
mhm.
it was side note. What's interesting to me is that your major was anthropology, and immediately I thought of Zora Neale Hurston.
Oh, yeah.
Immediately.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Me and Zora hung tough. I mean, I went deep into her work, and believe it or not, y'all, I still talk to Zora's spirit to this day. Now, me
Mm,
and three other sisters, I don't think they'll mind me mentioning their name. Ama Saran, Tijuana Malone, and a sister named Helen Kathakali. They are all in Georgia now. I haven't talked to them in a long time. But back then in the 80s, we went on a sojourn where we
mhm.
tracked,
Yeah.
we followed the track of Zora Neale Hurston.
Mm,
Everywhere in the South that she went, we went, okay, and we followed her. And when I get in my stuff, I have photographs of this. We went to Zora's grave where Alice
mhm.
Walker had put the headstone, right? Because
Wow.
Zora was buried without a headstone. Alice put the headstone there. We went there and we made offerings
Mm,
to Zora's spirit and asked for guidance. And I was throwing coconut then, and I asked if she accepted it. And we got the best yes that a person could get. We took a picture of it, and there was a rainbow over the headstone. We looked at that and said, wow, I think that's a positive answer from her,
I
right?
think she got it.
Years later, one of them sisters contacted me and she said, Tish, there's a new book out. It's the postmortem publication of some of Zora's stuff. And guess what the name of the book is? Wrapped in Rainbows.
Ah,
Wrapped in Rainbows is the name of that book.
wow.
Okay. Now, this is a great example of how you know when you are talking to an ancestor and they're talking back. We have to learn how to recognize and listen because I had the nerve enough. I had the nerve enough to say, after I published Calabash, and I was thinking about what's going to be the next project, and one of the projects in the computer is a cookbook, right?
Oh,
So,
come on.
I had just sort of said, well, Zora, thank you so much for all that you've given me in the past. But girlfriend, I'm moving on. I don't know. It was kind of like I was relieving her of
Yeah.
her connection to me because I figured she got enough work to do already. So in my
Mhm,
mind, I'm done with Zora, right?
mhm.
I swear to you, shortly after I said that, Amazon the book company sent me an email that said, Miss Tish, we have something here that we think you'll be interested in. And it was a book by Zora Neale Hurston with recipes in it.
Oh, Lord. Come
I
on,
had,
divine alignment. Come
okay,
on.
it's like, whoa,
Yes.
okay, okay, Zora, message received,
Message
okay?
received.
And it's real important that in a culture that tells you the only time spirit is talking is when it's in a horror movie,
Mm.
it is really important that we learn to pay attention to what we ask the ancestors for, what comes, when it comes, and who it comes through.
Yes, ma'am.
That is really, really important because everything in this culture tells you that the only time spirit is talking is when you're crazy and it's evil.
Mm. Mm.
Don't buy that.
Mm. I
Mm-mm, do
love that.
not
Yeah,
buy
yeah.
that.
We needed that gem. We needed that gem,
Yes,
because
ma'am.
there are a lot of people now, especially our people, black people, who are returning. They're coming
Yes,
back
ma'am.
home, they're coming back home,
Yes,
and they
ma'am.
want to practice ancestor veneration, and they're, creating their ancestor altars, and they want to put out offerings and things like that. And one of the most popular questions I get is, how do I know if they liked it? How do I
Uh-huh.
know if they received it?
Mm-hmm.
What would you tell them?
You know, what I have learned, having studied just about everything, is that you can make an agreement of communication with your ancestors. Hear me clearly, y'all. If your ancestors agree, you've got an altar to them, you put up a candle and a glass of water and all your symbols, etc., and you take your time and talk to them and meditate with them, okay? And after this, I'm gonna plug one of my classes. You can make an agreement to talk to them with a pendulum, okay? Like right now, I'm asking the pendulum, is this good advice to give to these young people? And it's saying, oh, yes. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. You see,
Yeah.
a pendulum will read correctly for you. And now I'm going to ask the pendulum to just stop and be still and show these people what a no is. If the answer was no, this is what my pendulum would do. It would swing back and forth. And a
Mm.
yes is circular. Okay. So you sitting there talking to great grandma, and great grandma was a great cook. And the holidays are coming up, and you asking her, what should I do for this holiday, right? And if she say goose instead of turkey, and you ain't sure that that's right, pick up your pendulum and ask her, is that what you said? Is that correct? You see what I'm saying? That's one of the easiest ways. You could do the same thing with cards. You could do the same thing with dominoes. You could do the same thing with pieces of coconut. It is the agreement between you and the surviving intelligence of the ancestor that makes the difference.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so yeah, yeah. We are honored to receive. We
I
are honored to receive. Family, do y'all see? Do y'all see? Y'all just got a whole demonstration. I don't
That's
even know if
right.
y'all know, but I know y'all know because they in the chat going crazy. Okay. Yeah, yeah. They love you. They
Yes.
love you. We so value exactly who you are and what you're doing and what you're sharing. Yeah, yeah.
Ashe.
I'm taking mental notes. I hope y'all are taking some notes because this is
Mm-hmm.
the information we needed. Now, yeah, yeah. We done got off track from the questions because you just gave us that gem and shook us up. Okay.
Well,
We
let me
on
keep
the go.
shaking you because what is very, very important for me to say is starting in the falls,
Mm-hmm.
always in the fall, I have a course called Cracking the Ancestral Code One.
Yes.
There's one and two. And I'm really, really recommending that because in Code One, we learn to identify what I call the A-list ancestors, those
Mhm.
who are coming to assist us, right? We break through the barriers of elders who don't want to talk. We break through the limitations of when you're trying to track your ancestry and you get to 1780 and can't find no more Black folks. We break through the DNA thing and we identify which one of those, what layer of that surviving intelligence is walking with us. Then in
Mm.
code two, we have a list of the ancestors who are wounded or who have brought us challenges that really mess with our life. And we get together with the A list and heal those in the
Mm.
B list. This is
Mm.
the most important thing for us to do at this time. And I can tell you that the end result of it is not only do we find out everything we need to know about the ancestors, we are able to heal the transgenerational trauma that we have inherited, and it results in radical self acceptance.
Mm.
I want
Radical
y'all to
self-acceptance.
meditate on that for a minute because we've been lied to about who we are and
Mm.
because of the things that we face every day, people walk around maybe looking proud on the outside, but in the shadow there's some shame.
Mm.
Uh-huh. In the shadow there's a wound, you know. In the shadow there is always that sabotaging voice that says, I ain't good enough, I don't know
Mm.
enough, the monkey mind, no, no, that's not gonna work.
Mm. Now, yeah, yeah, I'm gonna ask you this. When does the class go on sale?
Well, I just did a round of both one and two. You got to do one first. We
Uh-huh.
will do code one again in September. It runs through fall into winter, right?
Okay.
And then I have various levels of different subjects. Coming up this coming January through March, it is my intention to do a course on the elements of ritual so that people get more guidance on how to create their rituals. And I always try to do two things: to do stuff within the season at a time when the earth is doing something similar, and when people have said to me that this is what we need. Like last winter, I did dreams. Okay.
Yes.
Last spring, I did prosperity.
Mhm.
Last summer, I did a love attraction. Okay. But every fall, we concentrate on the ancestors. That's the season when everybody, most of the traditions of the world, are concentrating on the ancestors.
So y'all, fall, September 2024, that class will open up. But in the meantime, YeYe is always teaching. YeYe is on her Instagram live. She has a page for her. She's always teaching, always giving some courses.
Yes,
Now,
indeed.
YeYe, in the book, you talked about growing up tipsy, right? And first off, I love the term tipsy. I love that, right? Growing
Mhm.
up tipsy. Can you explain to the people what does it mean to grow up tipsy and what are some of the pros and cons of growing up tipsy? Especially in New Orleans where you from.
Woo, baby. Now, if the truth be told, most children in the stage that we call child, you know, are very, very receptive to the existence of archetypal forces in the ethnosphere. Okay. This is why, as a storyteller, you can tell somebody in kindergarten a story that has big archetypes: the hero, the villain, the da 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 da, da, and they can go right along with you because they live in a place where they're processing more by feeling than by trained rationality. Okay.
Ah.
So
Mhm.
all children are basically tipsy because they come right here from the land of the ancestors and they're feeling everything. And then we train them to shut that down.
Mm.
Uh-huh. We train them to shut that down. One of the examples of that is the fact that most children, if you give them a pencil, they will, make curlicues, and then we send them to school and teach them to do block letters, right? And
Mhm.
then take them back to cursive. That's an attempt to control the brain, which is, circuitous. It's doing this. Okay.
Ooh.
So every child who does not necessarily understand all the permutations of language, but you know that mom and daddy are fussing because you can feel it. You're not there to process who's right, who's wrong, but you know something's going on here
The energy is
because you
off.
can feel it. Okay.
Mhm.
Now, when a child has that kind of feeling and can pick up on the energies around them, some folks say, oh, well, so and so has an imaginary friend. Huh.
Mm.
Maybe that imaginary friend is an ancestor.
Yeah.
Maybe that imaginary friend is a guide.
Mm.
Okay. Maybe that imaginary friend is that child's consciousness giving form to what they are sensing around them. Okay. But as soon as that begins to happen, we smash it,
Yeah.
right? And either the child closes down, right? And experiences trauma later when all these memories and all this stuff comes up, or they become like me, a snoop, somebody who don't even know the question I'm asking, what's going on? What does this mean? Why these grown folks do this? You know? You
Mhm.
have that kind of curiosity. And so, but you can't talk to nobody about it, you
Mm.
know? So you sort of walk around, am I dreaming? Am I drunk? I'm tipsy.
I'm tipsy.
I'm tipsy. See, I'm picking up on what's going on. I can't I can't articulate it, but I know that there is more going on than meets the eye. Okay.
Mhm.
Now, the child, the person, especially the child who is tipsy, their chakras are open.
Mm.
Okay,
Mm.
chakras are open and they're receiving energy at every level. Now, imagine being open like that and walking through the French quarters of New Orleans.
Whew.
hmm walking down the street, y'all. I hope nobody, for the people on here who are from Savannah, Georgia, I ain't coming to y'all's town no more.
Tell about Savannah. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, don't even invite me. I ain't coming to Savannah no more. Y'all got too many spirits
They are
running around loose
present.
in Savannah. Okay, y'all need to be doing more rituals to placate them ancestors in I ain't coming no more. Mm-mm,
It ain't.
no.
It's too
Mm-mm.
much. It's too
It's too
much.
much. It's too much.
Yes.
Yet those of you who know what to do, y'all need to organize yourselves into cadres and go everywhere in that city where there was some kind of importation of black people or some kind of abuse of black people. Y'all need to take some river water, put some Florida water and some cascarilla in it or another good perfume or something, a good herb like rue, and go sprinkle and chant.
I hope my Savannah family listening. I got a lot of sister queens in Savannah. Joy,
Yeah, y'all need to go
Marquis.
sprinkle and chant, you know.
Yeah.
And if something tell you go leave some food at the foot of a tree, Don't fight with that. Go
Mhm.
ahead and leave it there, y'all, because
Yeah.
the ancestors are standing with us now in terms of fighting back
Speak on it,
on the
yeah.
oppression. Okay, they're standing with us now, but we
Mhm.
have to heal those who still are enslaved, whose energy is still in chains, who are ungrounded. every fall every
Mm.
fall my Ile goes to the cemetery, and we make offerings at the
Mm.
graves of those who have been neglected.
Mm. Mm.
Okay. Y'all are going to see in December a ritual that I just did in New Orleans at the site of the forgotten slave. They must not be forgotten.
Mm. Mm.
They must not be forgotten. We
Shay.
need to go to these places, cleanse, smudge, make offerings, tell them they are not forgotten, tell them we are learning the history, tell them the things that they fought for that they could not have. We will fight for that.
Ashay. Ashay.
Now,
Yes.
y'all, I have to get off my soapbox because Savannah just took me somewhere else.
We
Y'all,
needed that though. We needed
mm,
that. We needed
mm,
that push. We needed that call to action, really, right? I've been noticing a lot in the wellness community. We've been talking just about being open and really doing the work, and we've been talking a lot about being revolutionaries and what does that
that's
look
right.
like, right? And a
Right.
lot of people are feeling this call to move, especially with what's going on in Congo and
Woo!
Sudan and all over the world,
Woo!
what's happening. The
Mm.
person who murdered Breonna Taylor was just there was a mistrial, isn't that crazy?
Okay.
So right here, everywhere, our people are struggling. And there's really truly a call in a lot of folks to move, to do something, to
We
take
have to.
action. So people needed to hear that. They did
That's
you
right.
what you just did was you gave us clear directions on how to
That's
take
right.
spiritual action
That's
that
right.
will lead to a physical change,
That's right.
you
And
know?
see, that's important. It's important that you always take the spiritual action first
Ashay,
so
yeah.
that you can get the guidance around the right thing to do
Come on.
in the right way. See, that was one of the problems with back there in the 60s. We were doing stuff from what I call a materialist monist point of view, right?
Mm,
We were addressing material change without understanding that we really, really, really needed a full spiritual elevation. And so some of the stuff was not done the right way. And when you don't have that, you can be easily manipulated. And one of the manipulations back then was what I call black macho,
yes.
okay, where half of the power of us was suppressed because the men had been told that they were supposed to fight that alone, right? That feminine meant submissive and dumb, right?
Ash
And in some cases that caused such a split in the community between the men and the women, the youth and the elders. Let
right.
me say this very clearly.
Mhm.
75 years old, on the front line since I was 9.
Come on.
Always beware that about every 10 to 15 years, every time we are about to progress and break through, the media introduces something to divide us.
Mm,
And there's always a plot. Like I can say very, very clearly that drugs in the Black community are no accident.
mm.
Okay? They are no accident.
Chemical
They are
warfare.
introduced at specific times to specific people to undermine the progress
Mhm.
that we are having. Back in the 60s, it was skag, it was heroin going out specifically to Black men.
Mm.
In the 80s, it was crack going
Mm.
out to Black women. You see what I'm saying? I
Mhm.
need y'all to pay attention. These days, it's not only is it fentanyl, which is not a drug, it's a poison,
Yeah.
right? It's a poison, but you also have to watch out for what happens when you go to your doctor's office. Are you being nursed into addiction, right?
Mm.
Read the label on that pill, investigate the side effects. Ask yourself, is there an herbal alternative for this? In the 70s, I encountered a mother with a 1-year old child who had a cough, right? And she said, well, the doctor gave us some cough syrup for that. I said, where's the cough syrup? I opened the refrigerator and opened the label. Thorazine.
Wow.
You don't give no 1-year old no damn Thorazine. That stuff burns out brain cells. You see what I'm saying?
Mm.
Take a look at when our boys were being given Ritalin and
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. I want to take a moment to say how proud I am of this generation of young herbalists and the way that they stood up through the pandemic. Y'all, I am so proud of the young Black women herbalists that I encountered who said, elderberry and sea moss, YeYe, these are the herbs that are protecting us, that are helping us, okay? And
Yes.
at just about every young Black woman herbalist that I encountered, she was consciously working on how to help us with our health. And I want to thank you.
Ashe,
I
ashe.
say
Thank
I
you for
want to
that
thank
love. Yeah,
you.
yeah. And this is a good elder, because see, one thing about good elders, that I've learned, you always welcome the younger generation.
I say,
You always find the beauty in them. You give love and you
I
teach
say,
from a space of understanding,
I say,
right? And not
I say.
shaming.
Oh,
So I
please.
love that you do that. I love that you do that. That's
But
like,
if you don't cultivate the next generation, you're invoking suicide.
mm,
Think about that for a minute. See, that's what's got me so upset right now. I think it's January 24th or something. We're doing a ritual for the children of the world. Do
mhm,
you realize what's happening to the babies worldwide? That mess in the Congo, that mess in Gaza Strip, that mess in India, that mess in Brazil, they're killing off the babies.
yeah, yeah,
And that's how you do genocide, to make sure that the future generations are debilitated.
yeah,
At 75 years old, I want to say this very clearly, y'all. At 75 years old, when I was initiated, my Ita said I would live to be 92 if I took good care of myself.
yeah,
Okay. I'm trying to learn what take good care of myself means at this age so that I can render in some form or another and pass to y'all what I've learned and what I know. So when I go to the land of the ancestors, I'm going to be laying up under a palm tree with a rum drink.
Come on now. Come on.
You know what I'm saying?
Don't
Because I
forget the
didn't.
rum. Okay. I love that.
You
And
know what I'm saying?
You
You know?
continue to teach right here. You
Yeah.
continue to teach. You
Yes,
continue to give
ma'am.
us the wisdom from
Ashe.
1985 till right now. You
Right
continue to give
now.
us the wisdom. Now, you've been telling us a lot about connecting with the ancestors, giving offerings, making sure that we're doing
Hmm.
our part spiritually, right?
Hmm.
I do want to ask you about She Who Whispers, right? Because
Oh,
you mentioned that the ancestors will guide you and they will tell you what to do. In the book, you talk about She Who Whispers, right? And see, at the end of the month, every book we have a book club meeting, and we talk about our thoughts and our feelings and what touched us. And for Jambalaya, everybody was talking about the different takeaways that they had. And She Who Whispers kept coming up, kept coming up. And one sister queen, she was like, but what is She Who Whispered? Like, is it a spirit guide? Is it her Ori? Is it a ancestor? You described her as a spirit guide, but then went on and expounded more. Can you tell us about She Who Whispers and how other people can tap into their own
Mhm.
whisper?
Now, it's very interesting. It's a very, very good question, because for a long time I didn't know who She Who Whispers
Yeah.
is. Okay. Since I published Jambalaya, however, I have gotten letters from people who tell me that they have a She Who Whispers,
Yeah.
that She Who Whispers whispers to them. And at least one woman did a book of poetry called She Who Whispers, and another woman did a play on She Who Whispers, right? Now, there's two ways I think at this point to look at this, okay? Item number one, I'm often, when I'm counseling people about ancestors, a lot of times folks say, well, ain't nobody answering me. I don't know who my ancestors are. I have a remedy for that we deal with in Code 1. And then other people say, oh, there's so many ancestors talking to me. I just don't know what's going on. And then in that process, we identify the one who I call the Speaker of the House. Now
Yeah.
imagine an oval shaped table, and all your various A-list ancestors are sitting around that table. And standing there at the whiteboard is the Speaker of the House. Okay. And everything that you talk to the ancestors about comes through the speaker, and the speaker says, okay, my descendant needs a house. So you and you get on that, right? But
Yeah.
the main voice, the main interpretation comes from the Speaker of the House.
Mm,
Sometimes I think that's who She Who Whispers is, right? The head
mm.
mama on the Council of Ancestors.
Okay.
Other times I notice, and it may not be an either or, it may be a both and. Other times I notice that if I think, and this is important, y'all, if I think I know everything about something, if I think I know everything about something,
Mhm.
then that little voice says, oh, really? Check this out.
Ah.
Uh-huh. And all of a sudden, I got something new that I have to learn. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, people would say that's your Ori wanting to expand. Okay. And I say, if that is my Ori wanting to expand, then it's using her voice to tell me that message. Okay.
Mhm.
It is good to clean your Ori and take care of your Ori, and that's something else we deal with. But listen, learn to listen very carefully to that quiet voice that talks. You can call her intuition if you want to. You can call her consciousness. You can call her, the head ancestor. But the most important thing is to listen and take note of the effectiveness. She Who Whispers said this. That's why I encourage people to keep journals. On such and
Yeah.
such a date, She Who Whispers told me this, and this is what happened when I paid attention to it. She Who Whispers told me this, and I ignored it, and this is what happened. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
you have a measurable relationship. And I think in Jambalaya I had a thing called the Western Witch,
Yes.
where I'm walking on the bridge trying not to listen to She Who Whispers. Mm-hmm.
as
Sure,
many
sure.
people do,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. It's like in recovering from the Western witch, in recovering from our training against our intuition, I think it's important at this point to say we've had it backwards in Western culture. Western culture say, ignore your intuition and just do reason. I say that your rational mind should be the servant of your spirit.
Yeah.
Let the intuitive lead. You get an intuitive hit and then go investigate the external. But pay attention to what spirit tells you so that you know whether or not that is for you.
Come on now.
Okay? Well, everything ain't for everybody, and
Mhm.
everybody came here with a specific set of what I would call destiny points.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I am very, very clear that with all the different career directions that I could have taken, recognizing that I came here to be a storyteller,
Mm.
okay, was the best decision in my life. Okay. When you know, when you listen to spirit and spirit tells you, you are a poet, you are a caregiver, this is your basic spirit, you can manifest that a hundred different ways. I can tell stories by writing, I can tell stories by telling, I can tell stories by film, I can tell stories in the shape of a cake, but I know that I'm a storyteller, right?
Mhm.
And this world throws us off because it tells you that um, being a rocket scientist is more important than being a storyteller. How many rocket scientists do we need?
Right.
Okay. Okay. And I know three, and two come to me for advice.
Mm.
You see what I'm saying? If I
Mm.
spent my time trying to be a rocket scientist, that's a guaranteed failure because that ain't what I came here to be.
Yeah. Oh,
You
yeah,
know.
yeah, you froze for a second, had froze for a
Ah,
second, but you said, "That's not what I came here to be." No, we
that's it.
got you back, we got you back.
That was the last thing that I said.
Okay.
The technology always messes with me
It's
a little
okay,
bit.
it's okay, you've been doing good, yeah, yeah, and we have been receiving the wisdom, okay?
I
We've been
said,
receiving the wisdom. Now,
I
I
said,
wanna ask you because, something else that the wellness community loves so much about jambalaya is your connection with Marie Laveau. And you spoke on her and thanked her and honored her at the very beginning of this conversation. Marie Laveau has had and still has a legacy that lives on. She's constantly talked about. There are so many stories of her. How did your connection with Marie Laveau influence your journey? And how does her legacy impact how you perceive or think about your legacy?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Oh, she is absolutely a speaker of the house.
Yeah.
She is absolutely a model to for us to honor. Okay, talk about a brave woman. Talk about a woman who could strategize, right? Talk about a woman who knew what to do when and who provided a kind of guidance and a kind of order that has lasted for a long, long time. I was blessed to spend my childhood in my grandmother's house, 1022 St. Anne Street, right?
Yes.
If you go there today, it's right across the street from the gate of Congo Square. If you go there right now and sit on the stoop and look up, you'll see a sign that says the Marie Laveau Apartments.
Mm,
Okay.
mm,
So her energy was in that house. In the early chapters where I talk about the dog with three legs and red eyes and me lifting up out of the bed and that kind of stuff. That stuff was happening in the building that used to be Mamselle's house.
Mm.
Okay. And you heard all kinds of whisperings about her, right? Contradictory whisperings, you know. Some people would say, "Ooh, she was this evil voodoo woman who worked all kinds of shit on people," right? Yeah,
Right.
and the people she worked deserved it. It was mostly
Come
politicians
on.
and oppressors. Yeah, she was a revolutionary. And then you'd hear about her stopping executions, visiting prisoners,
Yeah.
taking care of orphans. Okay, this is the balance. If you are going to do good works, you have to stand up to oppression. There can't be no peace without justice. Okay, and I paid attention to the fact that she trained a whole bunch of women. Okay. I paid attention to the fact that she welcomed people in according to their spirit, whether they were Black or Native American or Italian or Spanish, whatever. Her basic thing was to gather the people who carried the right spirit into the work. Okay. And that I look at. The other thing that is really, really important is she took our work, our knowledge, which we know as hoodoo, out of a suppressed spookism into a functioning, a functioning, I want to say, a functioning learning, a functioning producer. She produced. We made products, right? She turned it into a business, and she left information for the coming generations. Now, you know, the idea that she had 15 women who dressed up like her and showed up in different parts of town. That's like she had her own CIA agency. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? Yeah, you know, that woman was smart, you know.
Yeah.
And I really went to her tomb in St. Louis Cemetery number 1 and made offerings and asked for her guidance. I got a lot of guidance by looking at what she did and what she stood up to. I want to say it took me 12 years to write Jambalaya. It took me 12 years
Wow.
to really to get it to the place where I knew that it was right. Okay. And at a point I went to, like, after Jambalaya was published, I went to St. Louis Cemetery number 1 and I thanked her. I left an offering and I thanked her and I said, you know, I've come here a number of times asking you for information. This time I come just to say thanks. You ain't got to give me nothing else if you don't want to. Right?
But if you want to, I'm here.
If you want to, I'm here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. You know, so studying on her and how she did it, the same principles have to be brought into today. We have to be proud of what we have inherited, right?
Yes.
We have to study on it and its uses. We have to transform it to take it into the future. And we have to make it a legitimate way for us to make our way through the world. You know,
Mhm.
you don't, the example that comes up for me is locally here, there was a man who wanted to go into business with me. And
Mhm.
his idea was that I would have a bunch of knickknacks and this and that I would sell to people with a label that said alleged. this, that, and the other. And I said, well, no, 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 no. If I tell somebody that this candle is for Oshun, it will
Mhm.
be because that person, that candle has been in a ritual for Oshun and has her power. And he said, oh, you don't have to do that. You can just tell them that it's allegedly for Oshun. No, no, that's what you do. Okay. No, if I tell you this is this, you can be sure it's authentic because I ain't gonna lie to you. I ain't trying to sell you some junk. Okay.
Right, right.
And we hold on a minute.
It's okay. It's okay.
Hold on a minute. Listen, Omomi, I'm in a Zoom right now. I got your email. They'll pick me up at 1 o'clock for the lot to pour the libation, right? Okay, okay, okay. Now here's the thing. Kawo Bami said that she was concerned about the distance to the entrance. Is the person who has the libation close to the entrance?
I didn't realize I was muted, child. I'm muted. but, but I said this is a real elder. She got the house phone, okay? She got the house phone. That's a real elder. Okay. And then on top of having the house phone, she got the voicemail set up, huh? Y'all heard the voicemail? I said this is through and through. Through and through, elder. You hear me? This is we are getting fed. We are getting fed, family. But let me tell y'all, if you are not in the wellness community and you did not read Jambalaya, you best get into it. Okay,
I'm
you best get
pouring
in.
libations at a ceremony tomorrow, and my goddaughter just made travel arrangements for me, so I had to take it. So
Understandable. It's understandable. Yeah, yeah. It's understandable. We love it. I told him, I said, this how you know we dealing with a real deal elder, okay? Because you had the house phone, you got the voicemail. I said, yeah,
well,
yeah,
I'm
it's
trying,
real.
I'm trying to keep up. There's so much going on. Um, there's so much going on at this time. I really want to say this to y'all. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
We do readings. We get readings from Africa. We get readings from Cuba. We get readings twice a year in January and in June,
Mm-hmm.
asking what are the Orishas saying to us? What's the guidance to us, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I want y'all to be very, very clear that right now the world is in so much turmoil that those of us who are spirit workers have to do as much work as we can because if you pay attention, you know, Yemaya came at a ceremony recently and she did this. She said, we have to be like this
Mm.
and we have to do the work because the earth, things on earth are so bad that if we piss her off, there'll be tsunamis.
Mm.
She'll wipe some people out. Okay. Now pay attention. When you get a reading that says the water spirits are angry and disappointed, take a look at the flooding. Take a look at the tidal waves. Take a look at that. When it's said that the air spirits are upset, look at the planes that are crashing into each other and falling down. A plane got taken out because some birds got caught in the engine. Okay. When they say the fire spirits and the earth spirit, look at the earthquakes and look at the volcano eruptions because, contrary to what others want you to believe, our behavior on the planet registers in the atmosphere, is experienced by nature and the deities, and it
Yes.
responds.
Mm.
It responds,
It's an
I
energetic exchange.
we it there's a and there's a book called Messages from Water
Mm.
by an Asian scientist named Dr. Matsuro Emoto, Emoto. And what he did was he took molecules of water and put them under a microscope and took a picture of their shape. And then he put water in various beakers and he had people to sit there and project emotions
Mm.
into the water. And then he took pictures of the water again. Water receives our vibration
Yes.
and it responds to our vibration. Now, if you think about it for a minute, every tradition in the world, every indigenous tradition in the world has spiritual baths,
Mm.
has spiritual baths. Water is listening to us, it is talking with us.
Ma'am.
You see what I'm saying? Don't think that what we do is some ooey spooky stuff. No. What we do, science is just now catching up because science has been devoid of spirituality. Now they are learning that science was born out of spirituality, you see. And so we're the ones, the people who are spiritual, we're the ones who really have the power to save the whole planet. It's a big gig. It's a big gig.
It is. It
It's a
is.
big
It truly is. Yeah, yeah. Now we are over an hour. Can I ask you just a couple more questions,
yeah.
please?
Okay,
Okay.
baby.
One question I want to ask, because you mentioned that it's a big gig, to do the work that we do. How do you maintain your wellness? What are your spiritual practices to restore and refresh yourself? Because you teach, you give, you do. How do you remain well?
Okay, I'm gonna have to do a shout out to my goddaughters.
I
Okay.
say, go ahead.
I'm 75 years old, and I say, well, I've been behaving as if I'm 50. My daughter told me, yeah, but when you was 50, you behaved like you was 35. So at 70, at 75, you still behaving like you 35.
Yeah.
Okay. Recently, when I went to Savannah and then went to South Carolina, I got caught in a condition of heat and not having the right food and missing my pills and my insulin and all of that, and there was a little panic on the part of the people that I was with, and they contacted my goddaughters, one of whom flew in from Belize to see what's going on with YeYe,
Wow.
and they took me to urgent care. Urgent care sent me to the hospital after 8 hours of exams. I mean, they took more blood than the law allowed. I've been poked and prodded and CAT scanned and X-rayed and I mean everything they could do to a person. And what they came out with was exhaustion.
Yeah.
Okay. Exhaustion. Okay. So the doctor told me to stop having a second cup of coffee at 4 o'clock. Get in the bed at 9 and elevate your legs. Stay in bed until you want to get out. Don't go out in the cold. Make sure you eating well. All right? So now I have a new law. I can't travel unless one of my goddaughters go with me. One of them calls every day to be sure that I have eaten, to make sure that I'm soaking my feet and washing my hair. And I'm so blessed because I have several who have gardens. Lakeisha brings me greens, honey. I got enough greens to feed everybody in Oakland. Demetri brings me tomatoes. Onyi and D-Don bring me herbs. Okay. And I don't know. I have to say this. Sometimes I just have to put out a general thank you. I don't know who it is because I lost the but somebody, some wonderful sister, sent me some of the most beautiful African lace studded with little gemstones, and I don't have her return address to be able to send a thank you. But people send me wonderful gifts.
Yes.
People send me candles and face cream and herbs and oils and all kinds of stuff. I feel well taken care of.
I love that.
What I have to do from my end is break certain habits.
Okay.
The habit of overbooking, okay?
Mm.
That's the first habit that I have to break, right?
Yes.
Because listen, y'all. For
Yes, ma'am.
years, I've had two contradictions. One is that I've been trying to learn how to buy locate. You know how people can be in two places at one time? It
Uh-huh.
don't work.
Yeah. What you've been doing Oakland and New Orleans?
Yeah. And I've been
Mhm.
trying to be in two places at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah.
That don't work. Okay. You can't
Mm-mm.
you really can't do that. And at the same time that I was trying to do that, I was telling myself, well, you're old enough now to retire. And for about 10 years, I went around doing gatherings and telling people, well, y'all, soon I'm going to retire. Soon I'm going to retire. And I was in Baltimore one time with a gathering. This young sister came up behind me and she put her hand on my shoulder. She said, meaning no disrespect, yeah, but you can shut that shit down because that ain't happening.
She said retire from what? When? Who? Who?
You know, you
You must
know,
got another job. Okay.
you know what I'm saying? So I'm trying to figure out how to not retire, how to get the work done that I need to get done before I leave the planet, right?
Yeah.
And the answer that's coming up, and they don't really know it this yet, but I have organized my goddaughters in such a way that they're gonna be doing it.
They don't know. They don't know.
They don't know that yet,
Don't let
right?
them see
They
it.
just
Don't let
think we
them see
still just having some good time rituals over here, and I got them reading a book over there, and we talking once in a while. Watch it. In the next 2 years, they're gonna be doing all the work, and I'm gonna be laying on a beach somewhere.
with the rum. Don't forget the rum.
Don't forget the rum, baby.
Don't forget the rum. Now, yeah, the last question I want to ask you, because the community would be so upset if I didn't.
Okay.
You, from the very beginning until very recently, you have always showed love and respected and honored the Orishas, right? I know that you have been a high priestess of Oshun
Mm-hmm.
for many years, I believe over 40 years at this point,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Now, many folks are on the journey of practicing hoodoo, Louisiana voodoo, free flowing spirituality, but some are feeling called.
Mm-hmm.
For you, when you first felt called to join an ATR, what was that experience? And how have you managed to balance your work within your ATR with your original traditional practice that you were essentially born into, which is Louisiana voodoo hoodoo?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Let me answer the second half of that question first because it's
Okay.
really, really important.
Yes.
What keeps me from falling into chaos, and what is the key for that is to understand the universal principles of spirituality and the specific manifestations of those universal principles. Okay.
Okay.
Once you understand, like those of us who in the diaspora,
Mhm.
if you know what the spirituality of the world is, there are certain principles, and maybe this will encourage people to take the elements of ritual course that's coming up in January,
Come
because
on.
there are universal principles that are true in every tradition in the world. And then there are the specific ways that various traditions do it. So if we take the concept of a trickster, okay, we
Mhm.
have a legba, we have liba, we have in Native American, we have coyote, right?
Mm.
We have in Hawaiian, you've got Loki. You know, you've got but everybody has a trickster.
Mhm.
Everybody has a trickster.
Yes.
Everybody has a great mother. Everybody has a sacred hunter. Everybody has the great social organizer.
Yeah.
Everybody. This is why Calabash is important. In those stories, if you study the mythology of the world, everybody has a creation story. Everybody has that. Okay. If you understand the universals, then you can coordinate the specifics, right? There's no contradiction for me between being a priestess of Oshun Ibukole, the vulture, and also being a devotee of Erzali Dantor.
Ah.
You see, they are both divine feminine defender energy. They
Mm.
are both
Mm.
divine feminine defender energy. Okay. I
Okay.
want to say to people that Orisha, especially Ifa Orisha, is the primary lens through which I look at everything. And that's another one. And then I place the other deities in the court of. That's another thing. Me and one of my goddaughters are considering doing a course on hoodoo as a universal, right? We haven't developed it fully yet. But know that if you know the universals and you study and respect the particulars, they can be worked together without conflict. I went through an Egyptian initiation. I went
Mm.
through an initiation for the Green Tyra in Buddhism. Uh,
Mm.
I have a Gnostic minister's license.
Mm.
I am initiated as a priestess of Oshun, of
Mm.
Ifa, of Dambala, and Erzali, and I worship Kali and Lakshmi, which is like Oshun and Oya
Mhm.
in different traditions. But at the end of the day, my primary identity is as a priestess of Oshun.
Mhm.
You see, and I fit everybody else um,
Under
in
that
there.
court.
That's right.
Okay.
Now, what makes a difference is what your ancestors are willing to support. Your
Mm.
ancestors are willing to support. Okay.
Okay.
So I have in my house somebody who is Igbo,
Mhm.
somebody who is a native Chamorro from Guam. There's a woman who's native East Indian who wants to come in. You know, I had a goddaughter who's Ethiopian. As a priestess, I make sure that their ancestors are okay with them being in this tradition
Mm.
and their ancestors are honored because okay, she's talking to me. Once that happens, everything will go right. She who whispers just told me to say that collectively there's a body of ancestors all over the world who want unification
Mm.
because that is what's going to save the planet. And they are interested in saving the planet because this is the place where they reincarnate through our children.
Mm. Mm.
Okay. So,
Okay. Yeah.
feel, feel. what your ancestors want you to do. Are you primarily voodoo? Are you primarily Lukumi? Are you primarily Ifa? Are you primarily Buddhist? What is the thing that feels really good? Because many of us are born with a priestly consciousness. You
Mm,
have an Ori that wants to serve spirit, right? And all that's important is finding the tradition that makes it easiest for you to fulfill that assignment.
Ashe. Ashe. I
Mhm.
love that, YeYe. Thank you so much, YeYe. We appreciate everything, everything, the wisdom, the energy, the vibrancy, the life, the beauty. Okay, the
Ashe,
beauty. Okay.
ashe.
We appreciate you. And I gotta once again, of course, I'm gonna shout out Jambalaya. Let me start with the foundation. We
Mhm.
gotta shout out Jambalaya family. If you don't have mine's done been through some things. Yeah, yeah, this book has been all over the world
I
with
love
me.
it.
Literally, it's been to Bali, South Africa, Ethiopia. My
Ashe,
guru wrote some Hindu chants in the front for me to memorize because he knew I always carried this book everywhere with me.
ashe.
It is that. And then YeYe also recently released
Uh-huh.
Calabash of
Mhm.
Cowries.
Okay.
YeYe is a
Now on the let's see, on December 15th, soon
yes, ma'am.
you'll see a flyer for an online book party for Calabash, okay?
Okay.
And 4 times a year, I do a party for Calabash, and I invite other people to come on and read their material. Calabash is very, very important
Hmm.
because that thing I said earlier about our story being told incorrectly,
Yeah.
Calabash corrects that.
Come on.
Come on,
Yeah.
Calabash puts my experience with spirit goes in there. The other thing I want to say is go to my Patreon page, right? Because once a month on the new moon, if you sign up at the beginning level, once a month on the new moon, we do a money
Money.
pouring ritual.
Yes, Lord. Okay.
Okay.
I'm in
Okay.
there,
All
YeYe.
right. And it's real important for people to know that there are folks who want to have World War III. They
Mm,
want it. And I've lived through several wars and I know who suffers under war and who makes money under war. All
yeah.
right. And I have talked to Oshun about this impending scarcity that's coming and all of this. And she says to me, not in my village. Okay.
Mm,
Not in my village. So it is important that you pull on the natural energy to make sure that you can take care of yourself, your family, and your community in spite of
Ashe.
all of that that's going on. So just know that we are on the right track. We have each other,
Yeah.
and that's where the power is.
Ashe, Ashe. Thank you. Yeah, yeah. And we receive that. We receive
Ashe,
that. Thank you for the calls to action. Thank you for the wisdom. Thank you
ashe,
for the love. Just thank you so much for being who you are
ashe.
at your best, most divine, and getting better. That's the
Yes,
thing too.
ma'am.
Yeah, yeah. You're getting better.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Every time you just
Oh,
get better and better and better. Okay. We value you. Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much for your time, wellness community. I'm so happy for y'all that y'all got to experience this. Yeah, yeah, a lot of folks don't have an elder that they can sit at the feet of and learn,
right.
and I'm always talking to them about the value of the elders and just
Hmm.
you got to just sit at the feet, let them tell the stories, and there's so much wisdom, so many lessons. So for many people, this is the first time they're ever getting to experience something like this.
Hmm.
You are
Hmm.
the foundation for a lot of people. I know you have
Ashe,
your God children, but you have many, many spiritual children out here. Okay.
ashe,
We love you, yeah,
ashe.
yeah. Aseo,
Thank you for
aseo.
your work. And if you've got
Yeah.
a collection of questions, you can send them to me. I can't promise a succinct answer, but at least it will let me know what people need to know. And maybe there's some form, maybe I can do some recordings or something. But just, I'm so grateful that you all are taking up the work.
Ashe.
You're
Ashe.
taking up the work.
Yeah, yeah, I'm bringing you back. Okay, I'm
Okay.
bringing you back. Okay, I
Okay,
am bringing
baby.
you back. I know you offered divinations, right? Is your calendar open for divinations?
Beauty has my calendar.
Okay,
And the thing is there may be a few spots open in December, but we do the reading for the year in January, and so usually by January 7, I know what's open through June.
okay,
Okay, so if you
okay.
don't get in December, try me again after the 7th of January.
Okay, now, yeah, yeah. I'm gonna tell you how my people move. Yeah, yeah. You're gonna be
Mm.
booked up. Okay, you're gonna be booked up. The classes is gonna be sold out. Okay,
Okay.
so just let me warn you now. Do not overbook yourself. Rest well, beauty. I know you're watching this, beauty. Don't overbook. Yeah, yeah. My people is gonna harass y'all. Don't harass. Yeah, yeah. Don't be sending all the emails. Leave her and beauty alone. Wait for the calendar to open up, and you rest well. Yeah, yeah. But just know
Yes,
that there are
ma'am.
a tribe of people sitting at your feet and they're ready when
Okay.
you're ready. Okay?
Ashe.
I
Thank
say,
you.
I say,
Thank you so much. All right. I love y'all.
we love you, Yay Yay.